What's going on, everybody? Good morning and happy Wednesday to you all. DK Show up on the air on this October 16th. Appreciate you all tuning in. If you're already up and at it and making your starts for the day, whether it's online, tuning in online at sportstalk1051.com, the radio dials 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also got the sports rolling here on Facebook and YouTube, and of course, you got your smart speakers, smart devices over there too. But happy Wednesday, happy fallish Wednesday here. What do we got on a good old game plan for us here this morning? All right, Packers fans, the kicker that a lot of you wanted, Packers reportedly are signing. Yesterday, it was first reported that the Packers were working out kicker Brandon McManus, and then later on, I believe it was Tom Pelissero from the NFL Network reporting that the Packers, in fact, ended up signing him. So first off, it was they worked him out yesterday, which Tuesday is a typical day for workouts for teams to bring in players and such. And the guy that I think that at least a lot of you who have texted, chimed in, that you would have liked to see the Green Bay Packers make a move on, and that's exactly who the Packers bring, Brandon McManus. Now, if you remember Brandon McManus, he was originally signed by the Washington Commanders back in March. He was released in June then after sexual assault allegations stemming from his time with the Jaguars, and it was a couple weeks ago that he was cleared from the lawsuit, and the NFL cleared him, so he would essentially became available for teams to sign him. And well, Green Bay's the team that decided to pick him up and sign him. So, but McManus has been around for a little bit. 2014 was his first year. Spent the majority part of his career with the Denver Broncos. Won a Super Bowl with the Broncos, that Peyton Manning team over there. 2023 with Jacksonville last year. He was 30 of 37, 81.1% field goal percentage. Perfect from extra points, 35 for 35. So, what do you think? Guys good with it? Guys and gals, you good with this move, or remains to be seen at this point in time? Right? Maybe it's one of those situations like, yeah, we'll see how it goes here. We'll see how it goes. But the Packers going on there. Well, if we count Anders and we count Joseph and now we count Narvison, fourth kicker. I mean, one in the regular season, but the battle in training camp between Joseph and Anders Carlson. Now they're over here. Maybe, just maybe they'll have this thing figured out. But to me, I'm in a wait and see approach here. So, but your thoughts? It seemed like a lot of you when we posted it up on, or when I posted it up on Facebook and such, you were excited. You were good with the move, and maybe some of you too said, "Bout freaking tongue." Just a few of the comments was Bloomer Tony saying, "I like this move a lot." Kyle saying, "I'm glad they're going this direction." Clint saying, "Worth a shot." Josh also saying, "Worth a shot." Wade said, "Finally, can't miss a kick game and still be employed." Jamie saying, "Good move." A lot of Packers fans been asking for this. Don also saying, "Packers aren't messing around. Produce, or you are out." So there you have it. Packers will return to practice later on today, and will probably be the first glimpse of McManus in a Packers uniform. But obviously, it was a big day yesterday. That wasn't the biggest NFL news. Shortly, we went off the air yesterday. Devontae Adams getting traded to the Jets for a conditional third-round pick. Could be a second-round pick, depending on performance and all that. And that wasn't the only wide receiver on the move yesterday. Amari Cooper. So the Jets making a play to bring in Devontae, Bills following that up by acquiring Amari Cooper from the Cleveland Browns. So two AFC East teams who just played each other on Monday night making moves to bring in some wide receiving help. So Devontae's going to help the Jets. There's no question he's going to help, but there's going to be an instant rapport with him. The first thing I thought of was I'm like, okay, how quick, is Aaron just going to start feeding it to his old buddy? You know, it was Garrett Wilson. He was feeding a lot too, and Alan Lazard's been catching some touchdowns. Alan Lazard's probably going to be a guy that it's going to his snaps or his targets maybe will go down a little bit. But is it going to be force fed to Devontae a lot? We've seen that before in Green Bay, right? We've seen that plenty of times before. Um, I don't know. I mean, they're 2-4. The AFC is kind of weird. Their division is a little bit up in the air. I mean, I'd like the Buffalo move to bring in Amari Cooper to give them a legit number one over there. So I like that move a lot. Miami is, I think a lot of that just depends on when Tua returns and when they can kind of get back in the flow of things over there, if they can. New England is just, I mean, they're playing for draft picks at this point, positioning. So could the Jets still make the playoffs? Yeah, they could. Do I see them advancing far in the playoffs? No, they still got issues. You know, figure out your offensive line. For a team that says last week, well, we're going to really focus on running the football, running the football, running the football, and then you acquire another wide receiver. So I don't know. Remains to be seen here. I'm still rolling with the Bills to win that division. So we'll talk some football here this morning, throughout the morning here. We'll keep that convo flowing here. What else do we got on the docket? We had some playoff baseball yesterday. Yankees picking up a win to move up 2-0 in their series against the Guardians. So Yankees jumping out to a 2-0 lead after their 6-3 victory last night. So the MLB playoffs will continue tonight. Dodgers, Mets. Dodgers visiting the Mets. That series tied at 1 apiece. Can the Mets take a 2-1 lead, an inch closer and closer, maybe to a Subway series with the Yankees and the Mets? Well, we'll see. But we'll talk a little baseball and such. A week from today, also it's tip off for the Bucks for the Buck season here. So 1 week away. The Milwaukee Bucks will begin their regular season. We'll start to kind of do a little countdown preview with the Buck season starting up here as well. So get to that. We might maybe throw some college hoops talk in there too. So just because we're getting a little bit closer to that, but we got a little business of sports. It is also an adjustment Wednesday. Making adjustments Wednesday from the last few days or so. If you can change one thing, if you can adjust one thing out there for your favorite team or in the sports world, what would it be? So, for example, again, posted it up on the socials last night. Lucas saying I'd adjust so the Brewers were still playing, like a lot of us would. Illini Greg saying the Illini must figure out a way to stack the box and make Michigan try to win through the air. Adjust the defense, please. That's kind of where we're rolling with this thing. So hit me up with your thoughts. Hit me up with the text 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line this morning. So let's get things rolling here this morning, shall we? We'll open it up talking some football here. Talk a little football here. Obviously, a lot of trades went down. Vikings, too, bringing back Cam Akers, running back, back in the fold over there to provide some depth. It's not even the trade deadline, and we had a bunch of trades yesterday. Well, I shouldn't say a bunch, a few trades yesterday. The trade deadline, November 5th. Yep, we had some big moves yesterday over there, and one free agent signing that I think a lot of Packers fans, big thumbs up, happy about until he misses field goals. At that point, I mean, what do you do? If McManus comes in here and he starts missing a field goal a game, at what point, what do you do? Short of trading for somebody, but at the same time, I mean, yeah, I'm sure maybe a team, if you give them a high draft pick, would be willing to move on from their kicker and such. But I I don't know what else you would do at that point if he's missing, struggling, because it's been a little bit too, right? I mean, it's been a little bit since he's been in action. So, but let's open up things, talking some football here this morning, or what else is on your mind here. Let me know. All right, start to hit me up with those texts on that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line, 715-830-1912. Otherwise, hit me up on the live video stream or on the socials as well, Facebook/the X. All right, it's a making the turn Wednesday. Plus, we'll kind of start to maybe look ahead to this matchup with the Texans coming to Lambeau Field. Big time game, especially for Green Bay in that NFC North chase. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. If you're in need to update some of the flooring in your space, in your home, your office, your man cave, look no further than our good friends over at Wisconsin's premier flooring store. That's Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. I was thinking about this the other day. We've used them for 5 different projects, I think. Stairs, bedroom, carpet in the man cave, tile in the man cave bathroom and such in the kitchen area over there. So yeah, 5 different times we've called upon our good friends at Carpet City Flooring Center to help us out with some home projects over there, and well, they could do the same for you too. Just give them a visit, whether you're not sure if tile or luxury vinyl planks or carpet would look the best in your space. That's what's so great about the entire team over there, whether it's Ben or Aaron or anybody over there. They'll help you try to find or they won't try. They will help you find what works best in your space and what functions the best and what fits in your budget. It's exactly what they did when it came to our downstairs man cave area. Kind of a with being a basement and such, temperature fluctuations and such, they helped us pick what would work the best over there, and would look pretty amazing down there too. So, Carpet City Flooring Center, they're awesome, but they're the people that work there too is what really separates them from the competition. And speaking of the competition, they will match or beat the competition if you happen to find a better deal elsewhere. All right, let's get things rolling here this morning, shall we? It is a making an adjustment Wednesday, making adjustment Wednesdays because, well, what do you do at halftime? You make adjustments, right? That's what they all say. Oh, it depends on who you ask there. But so what's one adjustment you could make? What's an adjustment you can make in the sports world, whether it's your favorite team or in sports in general? I think one of those adjustments for a lot of people out there when it comes to the Packers was change your kicker, and that's exactly what they did. Reportedly signing Brandon McManus to a 1-year deal, a kicker that a lot of Packers fans wanted the team to sign after he was uh, as cleared from allegations of sexual assault and the reporting some of the reporting out there is that it did not find the NFL closed its investigation into the allegations against McManus, reporting that it did not find sufficient evidence to support the claims. So that's kind of where things are at this point now. I thought I saw somewhere too that that was refiled or it's still, kind of floating out there and such with with these allegations and these lawsuits. So something to maybe still kind of monitor here at this point. But the Packers essentially saying enough's enough with the kicking game here with Braden Narvison and going to be bringing in McManus, who has been in the NFL since 2014, has won a Super Bowl with the Denver Broncos. His best season, if we look at it from a field goal percentage standpoint, his best season was 2015 when he was 85.7%. He is a career 81.3% field goal kicker. Was with Denver from 2014 until 2022. Played for Jacksonville in 2023, where he was 30 of 37 on field goals, 81.1%. His longest that season was 56 yards. Longest of his career is 61. But he was also 100% from extra field extra points, extra points last year. Last year also tied his career high in points, 125, which tied his 2015 season at 125 as well. He originally signed with Washington back in March, but was released in June after sexual assault allegations stemming from his time with the Jaguars in 2023. So nothing officially official yet from the Packers, but I'd imagine that's going to be today when they return to the practice field, when Matt LaFleur talks with the media and such. So, and that'll be the first glimpse of Brandon McManus in a Packers uniform. So while I know a lot of Packers fans are excited or maybe just kind of like, okay, finally a change, or, just they want something different at this point. Truth is, we don't know how it's going to work out until we actually get to these games and we actually see him in action and he's actually kicking in this stuff. So, um, I think, a change had to be made. Now, if this is a team, let's say the records are flipped. Let's say they're 2-4 or they're 1-5 or they're a very young team with, let's say they're kind of like a Patriots team or something like that. Do they ride it out with a guy like Braden Iverson? Probably. Maybe a little bit similar to last year when they rode it out with Anders. They ended up making the postseason run, making a run in the second half there and such. But, at this point, you're a contending team. You're a contender. You've got championship goals. You've got championship aspirations. And at this point, from what you've seen from Braden Iverson in the first 6 weeks of the season, a kicker who has missed the most field goals in the league, it's not good enough for a team that's out there trying to win a Super Bowl. I mean, gosh forbid you get into a situation, it's a postseason game or a championship game, if you get that far and you lose it because of a kicker. Now, that's not to guarantee Brandon McManus is going to make that kick. It's not a guarantee that Brandon McManus is going to be a guy that is going to be 100% perfect from field goals, or he's going to have leaps and bounds better numbers than Braden Iverson. We don't know that, and we won't know that until we get to the games here. But I also think, you look at this move and, Green Bay's like, all right, done with the youngsters, done with, rookies, guys that don't have a lot. They elected to go with the veteran route. They elected to go with a guy who has kicked for a while and has plenty of NFL experience. That's the route they're going. They want to bring in a veteran at this point, guy who's kicked in the postseason and has that to him. Now Denver spending a lot of time out there. Obviously, he kicked a little bit in the elements, playing outside, kicking outside. Obviously, with the elevation level in Denver, got a little extra distance over there, but he still has a bigger leg. He's got some power to him. But I'm glad they brought in a guy that spent the majority part of his career. If we're just talking about straight up kicking and such, I'm glad they brought in a guy that has kicked in the elements, that, he hasn't spent the majority part of his career indoors, warmer climate or whatever have you, but playing in Denver, factoring in with those elements, with the wind and such, it's the biggest thing kicking at Lambeau Field. It's how does that wind, what's it like, swirling inside the bowl? We talked about it the other day. Mason Crosby always talked about it. Aaron Rodgers even always talked about it, about how different, how kind of weird the wind swirls. It may not look like a thing, from us sitting in the TV or heck, even sitting in the stands at Lambeau Field. It may not be a thing, but apparently it is a thing down on the field. It swirls a little bit differently. So I think to bring in a veteran and a guy who's used to kicking in some different elements, especially over there in Denver, on that surface, I think it was a smart move. I think it was a smart move instead of bringing in another person who's maybe a rookie or hasn't really kicked in NFL games, regular season games at this point in time. I just want him. I hope he's able to. I don't know what the weather's going to be like in Green Bay for the next few days here, but I hope they allow him to, if it is a little windy on some of these days, go into Lambeau Field and go do some kicking sessions over there or such. Go get some experience. Get some of that stuff figured out over there, not just on Ray Nitschke or Clark Hinkle practice fields outside the Don Hudson Center or inside the Don Hudson Center either. So while I think a lot of Packers fans are maybe excited about the move or just, of the mindset like, hey, something had to be done. Glad it's a veteran. Maybe you're more optimistic about it. Truth is, we'll see. how it all plays out. And our first glimpse will be this weekend against the Texans. And it's a big game with the Texans coming to town. One loss team in the Texans. Packers in this fight in the NFC North. I almost feel like now, and maybe this is a little bit of an exaggeration, but I almost feel like this division is almost playing out like college football in terms of every game is of immense importance right now. Just how tight this division is shaping up to be. Minnesota at the top. Will they remain undefeated? You got Detroit with one loss out there, and they're looking pretty good. Yes, Aiden Hutchinson's out, but man, that offense was looking pretty darn good, wasn't it? Well, you got Detroit at Minnesota this weekend. Will Minnesota pick up another division win and remain undefeated? They're coming off of a bye. Can Detroit hand them their first loss and essentially put themselves in first place in the division? You got Chicago sitting there with a couple of losses, as our good friend Tom from across the pond, our Lions fan, has noted. Chicago. You look at the part of their schedule; they don't have any division games till later on. Chicago's on a bye this weekend. I mean, this is. You hate to say it in a week 7, and I know we're approaching kind of the halfway mark here, but I feel like the way this division has been playing so far, and potentially when it as it continues for the rest of this regular season, it almost feels like kind of a college schedule here where every game is of the utmost importance. Like, you don't want to fall so far behind in the standings. When you have a 5-0 team, was it 4-1, 5-1, one loss Detroit team, and a 4-2 Packers and a 4-2 Chicago Bears team, especially when you've already dropped a division game and your 2 losses are conference games. They're NFC conference games. You got to factor in tiebreakers, because right now, the way it's shaping up, we're probably going to be talking quite a bit about how tiebreakers are playing into playoff positioning here once we get to December. So this is a heavyweight fight. This is a heavyweight battle between Green Bay and Houston. Two coaching two coaching staffs who are very similar, very familiar with each other. D'Amico Ryans coming over from the 49ers. Bobby Slowick, their offensive coordinator, again, Kyle Shanahan disciple. He actually worked a little bit. Was it? Yeah, he spent a little time over in Washington when Matt LaFleur was on that staff too. So I mean, there's a lot of familiarity between the two coaching staffs, and a lot of familiarity with offense with these two offenses too. You got two young quarterbacks that are maybe, the younger faces of this league, and CJ Stroud and Jordan Love, Stephon Diggs, obviously plenty of experience going up against Green Bay during his time with the Vikings. Got plenty of experience going up and against Jair Alexander. And those two have had words for each other over the years, even when was it a couple years ago when Diggs was with Buffalo? Remember that game in Buffalo and the video of like when I think it was when the Packers were coming out and Diggs and Alexander were already jawing at each other and such. So I mean, there's probably going to be a little bit of that in this game, especially with no Nico Collins in the game. Got to factor or got to imagine that Jair's probably going to be lined up quite a bit against Stephon Diggs. I mean, there's good matchups all across the board with this game. All across the board with this game. And that's, as a football fan, it makes it exciting to see a game like this. And really when it comes to if you're a Packers fan, yeah, you're probably a little bit nervous about this game. Heck, I'm a little bit nervous about this game. I'm excited as a football fan to be, looking at this matchup to see, how does Green Bay stack up with one of the better teams in the league? When you look at the teams they've beaten, It's the Colts, it's the Tennessee Titans, it's the Rams, and it's Arizona. They fell in week 1 to Philadelphia, and they fell to their division leader, Minnesota. You're going up against a playoff team. Okay, you can make the case, all right, their 4 wins are against teams that are probably not gonna go to the playoffs, and their 2 losses have been teams that have a really good shot of going to the postseason. All right, you got a Houston team now that's coming into town that's playing some good football. 1 loss on the season. It's a measuring stick game. Can you beat one of the better teams in the entire league in your house, in your home? That's the challenge right now for Green Bay. Answer some of those questions. Can you beat a premier team? Let's face it, I mean, Houston's a younger team too. Houston's a younger team too. So I'm excited for this game. I'm nervous for this game as a Packers fan, but I'm excited to see the matchup between these two. I think it's a and really for Houston too, it's a good measuring stick for them. You know, their 1 loss, who to come against? Minnesota. But you look at they beat Buffalo 23-20. And in a lot of their games outside of well, the Patriots is the last one. That's when they went up against Drake May, and their loss against the Vikings where they just got dominated. They've been in some close games. You know, the opener against the Colts, 29-27. Bears, 19-13. Jaguars, 24-20. Bills, 23-20. Patriots was 41-21. And then their Vikings lost 34-7. So, I mean, they've been in some really close games. They've been in some tight games so far this season. So it'll be interesting to see if it's going to be something similar again here. But just a quick look at a couple of numbers here. You know, you got CJ Stroud so far this year. I mean, no sophomore slump for this guy. Over 1,500 yards passing. He's got 10 touchdown passes, 4 interceptions. He has been sacked 16 times. So he has been sacked 16 times so far this year. Joe Mixon, in 3 games played, he's got 286 yards rushing. Had a really nice game going up against the Patriots. But so far this year, he's averaging 5.5 yards per carry in that game against the Patriots. 13 carries for a buck 02. And you're talking about a 7.8 yard average. But Nico Collins, that loss for them, it's going to be huge. I mean, he was off to a fantastic start this season. 567 yards receiving, 3 touchdowns. So I mean, that it's going to be a huge loss for them. But they also got other weapons over there. Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell. Ogumawale has already got 15 catches for a buck 55, former Badger. Dalton Schultz, tight end over there. So I mean, they've got other options. Kind of forgot they have Robert Woods on there too. All right, couple texts here before we got to take a quick break. This is from Ben. Ben saying, I like the signing of Brandon McManus. Packers had to do something instead of staying with the status quo. But we'll see if it all works out. Another texter here saying indifferent on the kicking just because I don't know what to expect. I think they had to make a move. Don't know a whole lot about this guy, but at least it's a veteran coming in and not an undrafted rookie free agent who doesn't have any experience. Keep your thoughts coming. What else is on your mind this morning? All right, join in on the convo. Hit me up with some thoughts. We're going to take a quick break here. We'll get back to some more football talk. Got plenty of football talk throughout this morning. I want to talk a little baseball coming up here as well. I want to throw this question out just to kind of get your brain juices flowing. So earlier this morning, about 3:30 this morning, I'm kind of scrolling through Facebook and Twitter, and Anybody who has Facebook, you kind of see some of these posts from groups or pages or whatever, and it's got some different. It's just some different stuff, and it was a baseball one, and it had the 300 win club for pitchers, and you're going through the names, right? I mean, it's Warren Spahn, Cy Young, and Roger Clemens, and all those guys, and it got me thinking. When it comes to stats in sports, what do you think is some of the more premier, luxurious type of clubs out there? Not wins. I don't want to do win or no, I don't. I should say I don't want to do wins. I don't want to do championships. I don't want to do championships. I mean that's an easy one, but it's like pitchers, 300 win club. Maybe it's the 500 home run club in baseball. It kind of felt like, okay, 10,000 yards receiving and for wide receivers was a thing back in the day, or for running backs. Is it still kind of a thing? Maybe it is for running backs still because we see how the running backs are kind of treated in the NFL. So outside of championships, what other like clubs do you think are still kind of prestigious? Like, because we've talked about baseball, have no hitters kind of like have they been watered down a little bit? Because you've got more no hitters now where it's a team effort. What are some of the most prestigious still sports stats clubs out there, not counting championships? The 300 win club for pitchers? Is it 500 home runs for hitters in baseball? Do you move it up to 600? What about football? Is it still 10,000 receiving yards, 10,000 Um, rushing yards? Is it 500 touchdown passes? Basketball, is there a certain amount, points? Is it like, was it, what 20,000? What do you got? I was thinking about that when I was scrolling through there. I'm like, I wonder what is it still viewed? Because I don't, you look at, I don't know if I'm going to see, the latest pitcher to get 300 wins in his career. You got to go to, was it Randy? Yeah, Randy Johnson in 2009. So think about that for a little bit. Just kind of sometimes we do a little random question out there to get the brain juices flowing, right? So, but hit me up with your picks or some other ones over there that I may be missing. All right, we'll be back in just a few minutes. Speaking of our outdoor community, make sure you head to our website, sportstalk1051.com, and click on that Outdoors tab to check out all the new photos that we have added to the Tilden Gun photo board over there. A big thanks to everybody who has sent over those photos, especially the parents sending over photos of the youngsters having some fun and success in the outdoors. And don't forget, next month is the deer gun season here in Wisconsin, a tradition unlike any other. So if you need to maybe upgrade that deer rifle of yours, you need to get some supplies. Sean and Hunter at Tilden Gun will help you out. All right. You can also check out their website, tildengun.com, to see their massive selection, all at the best prices. And if you do get that deer, if you get lucky and you get that deer, but you're not quite sure where to take it, maybe you want to get some venison bacon made up or some snack sticks. Mike's Star Market, our good friends at Mike's Star Market on the west side of Eau Claire, your place to go. They got their prices up on their Facebook page and the different options. Otherwise, you can stop by the shop and maybe talk to Mike or Sarah over there, and they can help you answer any questions. And Mike Star Market, too. Don't forget to try one of those Packer Backer burgers over at Princeton Valley Golf Course. Loaded up with cheese curds, an Oktoberfest brat from Mike's, hamburger from Mike's. It's only here till the end of October. So you might got to get over to Princeton Valley Golf Course to get your burger. Swoopy. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, sir. I would love for the Packers to play the Jets in the Super Bowl and kick their kick their butt. Uh, Packers fans, would you like to play the Jets in the would you be up for that matchup, or would you be a little bit nervous about that? Because would you want to avoid that just in case the Jets were to win that game and then Rodgers has a championship against the Packers, or Devontae now has a championship playing against the Packers? Would you want to rather avoid that type of matchup? It can make a case for either way. Everybody's going to be a little bit different over there. I was looking at the question I threw out there, different statistical clubs and such. And I was looking at touchdown pass leaders, and man, how different the game is. Because I mean, '07 Favre breaks the career touchdown record, held by Dan Marino, which was at 420. And so I threw out lines that, would you say it's about 500 right now is maybe the club? I mean, I don't know if anybody's going to catch Tom Brady. He's got 649. Drew Brees has 571. Peyton Manning has 539. Brett Favre has 508. And there's a really good shot that Aaron Rodgers will join that 500 club. He needs 16 more touchdown passes to join that club. Think about that. Aaron sat for 3 years. Was it 3 years? 2 years. 05, 06, 07. Okay. Yeah. 05, 06, 07. Sat, missed some time due to injuries, missed all of last year, not counting the times he had a broken collarbone in Green Bay and missed some time. And he's got 484. And Favre didn't play his first year, started all those games. I remember the 421 was a big deal. I was at that game. Think about that, how different the game has changed. But Aaron's just 16 away from joining the 500 club. Next closest is Phillip Rivers at 421, who's at 6th most of all time. Next closest active is Matthew Stafford at 360. And Russell Wilson has the 13th most touchdown passes in NFL history. Russell Wilson, who may be making the starts for Pittsburgh this weekend. I don't know if I agree with that one. But if you'd have told me Russell Wilson was top 15 in passing touchdowns in his career, I'd be like, what are you on? I'll be honest, I never would have guessed that. I never would have guessed that Russell Wilson would have been top 13 or top 15. And if he does get starts, if he gets plenty of starts this year, he may pass Fran Tarkenton for 12th. Fran Tarkenton's at 342. Then you got to go to Kirk Cousins, who is at 18th for the He's got 279. The thing about Kirk Cousins and Russell Wilson they were drafted in the same draft. Russell Wilson's 334, Kirk Cousins 279. Heck, Joe Flacco is 25th all time. Andy Dalton is 24th all time. Man, how different the game has changed over the years. Wow. Never would have thought Russell Wilson, though. So yeah, I think I'd put 500, the 500 touchdown club on there as a prestigious stat club, not taken away or not counting championships and such. So, all right, we'll get back to some more of your text coming up next hour. Also, past 8 o'clock, we got a business of sports segment coming up, and NFL owners meetings were going on, and a couple of nuggets over there. Jacksonville's going to get a new stadium, and then the Raiders have a part-time owner tell you a little bit about Tom Brady and what he can't do now as an announcer. So we'll get to that coming up a little bit later on. Morgs, how you doing?
Are you thumbs up or thumbs down on Brady behind the mic?
He's not bad.
It was a little bit anticlimactic.
Yeah.
It was like underwhelming.
He's not I mean, Tony Romo is a little over the top at times.
Right.
But he's not bad. I wouldn't say he's awful.
Do you think we get spoiled in Wisconsin because we have, Wayne Larrivee doing the play call, and you grew up like I did with Max McGee, and so we have that.
Brian Anderson and all those guys.
Do we get spoiled there? And then of course Euchre on the baseball side. Do you
Mhm.
think we just happen to have really good announcers here in Wisconsin, or do you think you acclimate and every state thinks that? Because I really think we do have some of the best here.
I'll even say we should get credit for Kevin Harlan, who was on the call for like CBS football and then basketball on TNT and that, because his dad is Bob Harlan, the former Packers.
Right.
And he does the preseason Packer games on TV.
I'll give you that credit.
So I think we get Kevin Harlan.
I think the argument could be made. I'll give you that one. That's an easy one.
Yeah.
Any other, if you had to pick secondarily to what we have here, because that's still my first. I mean, I grew up, my dad would have the game on mute and put, the radio on top of the TV, and we'd be listening to the play calls because that was the way that he liked to watch the game. If you had to say, okay, our announcers are out, our hometown voices are out, we can't pick, whose second would you rather, if you could put together a team of announcers
that are still active?
We'll do both. We'll do that you could bring back from the archives, past or present, and then we'll do current day that you want to watch a game for. And we'll say football play call.
Back in the day, that one's easy for me. Give me Pat Summerall and John Madden.
Okay.
That's my childhood right there.
Right. Do you think that's nostalgia, or do you think that's actually?
It's nostalgia, but it works perfectly because Pat Summerall was so anticlimactic, and because I could still picture the Super Bowl 31 call, Favre, rising, touchdown, Packers, and then Madden's freaking out.
See,
so
he's
it's like,
subdued.
Yeah.
And you need that. If you were doing would you prefer to do like Wayne? Would you do the play call, or would you like the color side of it?
Oh, I would do the color side. I can't do play-by-play.
That would be impossible to me. Every time I listen to play-by-play, I think about the skill involved in doing something like that.
I can't say players' names.
So that would be your pick from the past. Now, currently, if you were going to set up a match together, who would you prefer to have on there?
Play-by-play would be Kevin Harlan, and my color commentator would be Greg Olson.
Okay. But see, players, this is the thing that I'm learning too, is like former players, even if they're really good on the field, they don't always translate to mic.
Greg Olson's awesome, though.
Yeah.
He should still be the number one and not Tom Brady.
Okay.
He got ripped.
I'll see. I was thinking, looking back, like obviously they put Barber behind the mic. Strahan can wear a suit.
Yeah.
That's for sure. I mean, like, there's a visual component to it too. Yeah. But so your team today, your dream team is?
Kevin Harlan, Greg Olson.
Fair enough.
Second hour kicking off right now on this Wednesday morning of October 16th. Hopefully, you're all ready, up and at it, and ready to go for making the turn Wednesday, making an adjustment Wednesday over here. We're going to get to spit it out there. We're going to get to a little business and sports coming up next hour. We're going to talk a couple of things over there. NFL owners meetings yesterday, Jacksonville, new stadium, new owner, partial owner for the Raiders, one Thomas Brady. How does it affect his play calling duties? Kind of an interesting list. What he can't do now as a part owner of the Raiders. We'll go through that in our business of sports. Also, later on this hour, we've got we look for our shout outs for either like youth teams, youth players, coaches, officials. We want to give them shout outs and some cred to do some credit or some cred on the air because they play for the love of the game. So coming up a little bit later on this hour, about 7:45, we're going to hear from the second grade flag football Yellow Jackets team. So that'll be a lot of fun over that. And reminder, rest of you, if you know of a team, if you know of some players, coaches, or volunteer officials that you know what they go above and beyond the call of duty, let me know. Hit us up with an email. Just go to sportstalk1051.com. Click on that fan cave tab over there. Details over there and how you could submit to give somebody a proper shout out over there because we want to highlight the people that still play and still help out because they have a love for the game. Quick text here from John says that would be a great top 5 for the podcast. Top 5 play-by-play and colored commentary. I think we did something like that before. I'd have to go back, but maybe that would be a good one to kind of revisit here over there. So don't forget to follow and subscribe to the Payout Podcast, the Man Cave Podcast, presented by Hy-Vee and Toyson Ford, available wherever you listen to your podcasts. Follow, subscribe, and that way you never miss another episode. One of the conversations we were kind of having towards the top of the hour was those prestigious stat clubs. What are still kind of the most prestigious stat clubs? Reason I bring that up because I'll bring in Luke here. Luke on Facebook. Once in a while, we'll see those posts like a random sports thing. So, like this morning at 3:30, I'm like scrolling through Facebook and I see a graphic of the 300 win club for pitchers. And it got me thinking, for all the changes that sports has gone through over the years, what are still some of the more prestigious stat clubs, not counting championships? I thought 300 win club would still be on there because I don't know who's the next pitcher going to be a 300 win pitcher at this point. Would you go 500 home run club? Do you elevate it to 600 at this point?
Boy. I mean, I'm still stuck on 715, honestly. But I think 500, you don't really hear the 400 home run club too much. I think 500 is a little bit, of course, nice round number with a lot of these. My common complaint about if you have 299 wins, he can't be in the Hall of Fame. 300, first ballot Hall of Famer because of one win that might have been out of your control. 3,000 strikeouts. Still a big one.
Yep. A lot of it tends to be baseball with these clubs, I think it's fair to say. Because I mean the no-hitters to me kind of get watered down a little bit now, especially when you have team no-hitters. I mean that's it's not that big of a deal anymore, to be honest with you.
They got a no-hitter with an opener.
And you look at the 500 home run club. I mean, Eddie Murray, Gary Sheffield, Miguel Cabrera is going to be a Hall of Famer at some point. Pretty much a lot of these people are going to be Hall of Famers, except for the people who are targeted with steroids.
Right. Which throws off your perception of who's worthy of being in that club.
Because I've got
but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I got the list. Barry Bonds, of course, no. Albert Pujols will get in. That's a lock.
Yes.
A-Rod, no. Sammy Sosa, no. Mark McGwire. And when I'm saying no is because they've been eligible and they haven't been voted in.
Right.
Mark McGwire, Rafael Palmeiro. I did not take steroids. period.
Head down.
Manny Ramirez, no. Miguel Cabrera is going to get in the Hall of Fame, and Gary Sheffield. So literally, that's the list of guys who are not in there. 2 will get in. The rest, right now, it doesn't look like it.
Yeah, but it's still, again, it's a good shorthand for, did you hit a lot of home runs? I think that's where where 500 makes a difference. Not so much of a Hall of Fame determinant. Rather, wow, you hit a lot of home runs. Hey, you're getting kind of close to 715 is what 500 means.
Yeah.
Anything below that could be a whole lot of people.
Football, I mean, you always heard about like the 10,000 rushing yards or the 10,000 and I think the receiving one's kind of been watered down a little bit. Rushing, I wonder if it's still 10K because of how many teams just recycle through running backs at that point. And then I was looking at the career touchdown ones. You want a history of like how the game has changed in just like the last 10, 15 years. Aaron Rodgers has the 5th most touchdown passes. He's 14 away from 500. And it was just in 2007 when Favre broke the record when Dan Marino had the 420. And think about it. Aaron missed all of last year. Aaron missed a lot of time with Green Bay with his collarbone injuries. Oh, and he sat the first 3 years. And he's probably going to get 500 career touchdown passes. That's how much the game has changed.
That's been watered down. I mean, and yet now I wonder if we're going to have another big wave of quarterbacks getting numbers like that, yardage numbers, because it looks like defenses have adjusted. Quarterbacks are not performing as well out of the gates. The game has changed from 5-10 years ago. So is that kind of a non-illegal steroid era version of those numbers?
And I don't know if anybody will ever catch Brady. I mean, that's 649, and the next closest is Breeze at 571. But, you know, who knows with the current trajectory of football. It still surprises me. I'm glad you said watered down because I never would have guessed this if this was a trivia. Who is the 13th most touchdown passes in NFL history? Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's number 13. And if he gets starts this year, he could pass Fran Tarkenton.
Russell Wilson is Russell Wilson a better all-time quarterback than Fran Tarkenton?
No, I wouldn't say that.
He's a very good quarterback, but Tarkenton is higher on that list, which the irony is they are probably close to a really good comp in terms of style of quarterback.
Well, and this is
of everyone.
And this is what kind of surprise. Russell and Kirk Cousins were in the same draft class, yet Kirk Cousins is 18th at 279. I would have thought Kirk Cousins would have had more touchdown passes than Russell Wilson.
Yeah, a little bit of an interception capability there with him. The running back number of rushing yardage, that's like 10,000 yards. That's kind of stands out to me. Receiving yards, because what's Rice at and what's like...
Oh, nobody's going to catch Rice.
Right. But
let me bring it up here quick.
What's that threshold of like, okay, now you're really good at... Because that's another one that's been skewed by all of the touchdowns and receiving yardage over the past few years.
I mean, yeah, because Shannon Sharp is at number 56, and he's got 10,060. Then Eric Moulds is at 57, and he doesn't have 1,000 yards or 10,000 yards. It's 9,995.
So basically about 10,000.
Donald Driver's at 55 at 10,137, and he ain't making the Hall of Fame. So that it's not 10,000 anymore. Is it? Boy, maybe it's 13,000.
Probably
because, well, Jason Witten's got 13,046. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame, I think, at some point. Steve Largent's got 13th. Andre Reed's in with 13,198. Torrey Holt, I think, will eventually get in 13,382.
Yeah.
So maybe it's 13,000.
Probably.
It used to be the touchdown. Remember, like Don Hudson had 99, then Steve Largent broke it with a 100.
Yeah.
That now, I mean, let me see if I can find out what it is here. Nobody's catching Jerry Rice, 22,895. Larry Fitzgerald has 17,492, and he's the closest. Even with this game, I don't think nobody's going to catch Jerry Rice.
So I think it's still fluctuating for wide receivers because of what we've seen over the past several years where the game is now, like I said, is the offense ebbing, but does that impact receivers more, or excuse me, does it impact quarterbacks more than receivers? Say maybe you get more yards after catch,
Right.
sort of situations. They're still getting a lot of yardage.
So
all-purpose yards could make more of a difference too. If you have more,
all-purpose is a good one, yeah.
right? Because if you have wide receivers, basically like getting the ball pitched to them, or you also have quarterbacks becoming more of a running threat, ways to get the offense moving, not necessarily involving bombing it down the field back in like peak Drew Brees era. Does the all-purpose yardage and that's a figure we don't even necessarily know, but that might be the thing we're talking about 15 years from now.
I got all-time leaders in just touchdowns, so this is receiving and rushing. So like Jerry's got 208. He's the only one in the 200 club. Emmett's 175. LaDainian's 162. My man Don Hudson's at 21 with 103, so he had 4 outside of catching touchdowns, so he's still number 21. Derrick Henry's close to passing him, though. So screw you, Derrick Henry.
Yeah. 100 seems to be a good there.
Yeah, because it's Curtis Martin. Devontae could get 100. He's at 96 right now. Devontae gets 100. Is that Hall of Fame? Is Devontae Adams a Hall of Famer?
Right now, I say no. He was on a path for it, and he hasn't tailed off dramatically, but I was expecting more. And so, it might be a situation, but I was expecting more still.
So, like Gronk has 93. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. Eric Dickerson has 96. He's in the Hall of Fame. Franco Harris has 100. He's in the Hall of Fame. Curtis Martin has 100. He's in the Hall of Fame. Mike Evans has 100. I think Mike Evans is going to get in the Hall of Fame. I think he's still underrated. Mike Evans at this point.
At what point does Mike Evans stop being underrated?
That's a good point.
And it feels like he's still underrated.
Nobody talks about him when you talk about some of the better wide receivers in the game.
But like every time he has a highlight, you're like, he pretty much always catches a touchdown in a Buccaneers game.
And it's not like one of those where he set the bar so high. You know, it's like where we've seen those guys where they set the bar so high, and when they go down a little bit, you're like, what the heck's wrong with that guy now?
No,
it's just he's consistently good.
Yeah. He's better than just consistent. Again, like Julio Franco around for a long time. He's a plus Frank Gore, and a plus Frank Gore is closer to a lock for the Hall of Fame. Though you think Frank Gore is going in the Hall.
Right?
Yeah,
I do.
Yeah. Yep. And I'm 50-50 on if the voters will think that's enough. I think Mike Evans will get in, maybe because of the durability compared to a lot of receivers. I can throw up some really incredible numbers in like
1,000 yards every single season.
Yeah.
And 99 career touchdowns already.
See, okay, so there you go. 1,000 yards a season, 100 touchdowns total. Like maybe, is it 13 or is it at least 10,000 plus career yardage? I think those are the bigger numbers there for a receiver.
Mm-hmm. Devontae is going to be interesting for me. He's got 96 career touchdowns. He's at 10,990 career yards. I agree with you. I thought he was on that trend that late 2000 teens, right? It was that, 18, 19, where he was just ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
I heard a comparison yesterday. I don't know if it's going to work out that way, but I think it was actually Paulie Paps from Dan Patrick when they were talking about the trade. And they mentioned, when Randy Moss went to the Raiders, and Randy Moss is kind of just average. Then he goes to the Patriots and has that awesome year. But was Randy Moss already a Hall of Famer before he went to the Raiders? Or was it that Patriots pretty much single season that got him into the Hall?
I think it was the 98 season that especially did it. Broke in so huge. It's one of the most memorable individual wide receiver seasons we've ever seen. I think he was on a pretty good track, but he had enough controversy that I don't know that he was necessarily like, oh yeah, he's definitely getting in by that point.
So the 98 season, that's his rookie year.
Yeah.
So you're like Hall of Fame already after his rookie year?
That's the thing, because we haven't seen someone change the game like that, and arguably he changed the game. That's really what you want from like the best combination of Hall of Famers is the game different because you played permanently different, and or did you really excel with your general performance? Some combination of that. Usually it's more of the latter than the former, but the former can apply if you have a short career. In Randy Moss's case, if he hadn't had 98, if he had a good acceleration and then had 99 plus, I don't think he's a Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm.
But 98 was so good, and he changed the notion of, okay, big guy downfield can catch bombs and is essentially unstoppable. What? We hadn't seen that in that particular manner prior to the 98 Randy Moss. Since then, we've seen a lot of versions of that, but not even quite to Randy Moss's level of excellence that far down the field. That's what ultimately pushed him over the top and allows people to overlook the decline in performance, a lot of it self-inflicted, the controversies, et cetera, lack of a title, all of that, which, lack of a title, but that factors in. It was 98.
So Devontae and Mike Evans were drafted in the same year, 2014. So I'm just kind of doing like side-by-side comparisons of these two here.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, too, I mean, Mike Evans, he didn't have Tom Brady right away, right? Heck, he didn't even have Baker Mayfield right away.
Right.
But Devontae has played in 153 games. Mike Evans, this is according to Pro Football Reference, has played in 160. Yet Mike Evans has 11,990 receiving yards and 99 touchdowns. Devontae has 10,990 receiving yards. That is really weird that it's 1,000, like literally 1,000 more, right? 11,990, 10,990. Wow. Devontae, 96 touchdown catches. Mike Evans, 99. So, I mean, if Mike Evans is, 1,000 yards more, 3 more touchdowns, is Devontae that far off if we're already saying Mike Evans is a Hall of Famer?
No. I mean, the numbers are still there. Devontae Adams could really help his case if he has a really good year with Aaron Rodgers. Now, then the immediate answer is, see, he's good when he plays with Aaron Rodgers. That deflates a Hall of Fame argument. But if we start to see, it would be good if we start to see that 2018, 2019, 2020 era Devontae Adams of obvious touchdown threat, excellent footwork. That's the thing that really drives home a Hall of Fame candidacy for me. I don't think I've seen a wide receiver with the footwork of Devontae Adams. Is that a changing the game, or is that I guess that's the third category. Maybe not changing the game, but an ability that seemingly nobody else had. Like Barry Sanders had a certain ability. It's not really ever been seen since him. He was a unicorn. Devontae Adams kind of a unicorn. It's just it's not really used that much because of quarterback lack of quality.
And let's remember too, his 2 years, not counting this year, but he did go over 1,000 yards in his 2 years with the Raiders. His first year, he was over 1,500 receiving yards. Last year, with the whole mess of their quarterback situation, he still had over 1,100 receiving yards. So, I mean, it wasn't just always Rodgers or his 1 year with, or I shouldn't say this. It wasn't always Rodgers.
Right.
It was, and he does, let's face it too, how he began his career, he wasn't a number one wide receiver like a Mike Evans was, essentially. He had to play behind Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb, kind of work his way up there a little bit.
That second year was not that good.
No.
He was getting criticized a lot.
I mean, 2020 to 2022, he was first team All-Pro. And to put it in perspective, Mike Evans has been an All-Pro first team once his rookie year, but 2 times second team All-Pro.
It could be, again, it's who you're with. And in Evans, he's dealt with all these other quarterbacks, and right now he's got the long-awaited blossoming of Baker Mayfield. But he's done well with insert other quarterbacks all over the place.
So let's
and
say
Tom Brady, to be fair.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. So let's say Devontae plays this year and next year with Aaron Rodgers, okay? Just for argument's sake.
Mhm.
Do you think he will just, and this is a projection, it's a prediction. If he plays, he will play this year and he plays next year with Aaron Rodgers. Then does he have Hall of Fame credentials? Assuming the numbers he'll put up.
Possibly so. I think that might be enough to tip it over.
And the wide receiver is so hard to predict when it comes to Hall of Fame, right? I mean, the log jams that they've had over the years, and they still kind of have right now. He ain't gonna be a first ballot if he is.
No.
He won't be that. It might take a little bit. It took Andre Reed and Tim Brown a little bit to get in.
I think he ends up being like a veterans committee.
Oh, maybe.
I mean, I'm getting way out in the future, but that might be it. Where in retrospect, you start to go, but look at the numbers that he put up. Even when he was with the Raiders, even with some bad teams, he was still doing, you have to do a career reassessment because right now he was good with Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. Then he went to the Raiders and everything fell apart.
Right.
So, and it's like a knock on him. Well, it's really a knock on the organization that was around. And yeah, I mean, I guess you could say some of it was him, that he seemed to be a little bit like, these guys suck. And so he wasn't performing as well. But a lot of it's the rest. So yeah, I think he's a good candidate for a post-career assessment. I don't think if the offensive line continues to suck in New York and the ball doesn't get to Devontae Adams, that's going to hurt Devontae Adams' Hall of Fame credentials. Let's be real. And that's not fair to him. Well, I guess it is kind of fair to him because he was willing to go to the Jets, understanding that Aaron Rodgers may not be able to get him the ball as much as he would ordinarily be able to do so.
Yeah, well, and let's call it what it is. This move will affect the Hall of Fame credentials of Alan Lazard too. So that's the big hit right here. Alan Lazard, I'm sorry, man. I know you got 5 touchdown catches this year, so
yeah, he's getting paid this year.
Well, we got paid last year for doing nothing and getting, not even activated for some games.
Hey,
so
that's what you need.
Yep. So
get that money.
Oh, straight cash, homie. Straight cash.
Right back to Randy Moss.
All right, let's take a quick break. Your thoughts, your comments, always join in on the convo with us. Hit us up with the text, comment on the video stream, all that good stuff. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. If you're just waking up and you're wondering what should you do for breakfast this morning, well, don't think about it too hard. Just head on over to the VFW Post 305 on Star Avenue. Grab yourself one of those taco omelets. You like portion size? That is a huge taco omelet over there, too. And of course, with Friday coming up here, your go to place for a Friday fish fry right at VFW Post 305. Got to give a shout out to our good friends from the Card Collecting Club. They're doing a kids sports trivia for kids this Monday at the VFW Post 305 on Star Avenue. So just go check out the card collecting Facebook page for more details over there. I wish that I would have had that when I was a kid. I would have dominated that. Sports trivia for kids? Heck yeah.
Yeah.
I would have dominated that thing. Wonder if I could sign up and do it. I don't know. Hey, I know in a few minutes we're going to be doing our shout out to a youth football team coming up here, but should also shout out. We had some prep teams last night. Oakland Memorial Boys Soccer, Big Rivers Conference champs, league champs, first time since 2019. Last week they had that big win over Hudson. So shout out to Memorial. Bella Kongshog repeats as state golf champion. Cole Phelps Elk Mound junior. So, I mean, there's a good chance she could win it again next year for the D2 title. So, Manual Lutheran Volleyball is undefeated still in Dairyland play. So, nice work. Hey, when you were at Memorial, was boys soccer, were they a powerhouse back then, too?
I think it was just, if I recall correctly, I think it was just starting.
Okay.
I mean, that was 93 to 96. So, or 92 to autumn. Well, those 4 years. So it would have been autumn 92 to autumn 95. No, I don't recall. I have to look at my yearbooks, but my recollection is it wasn't much of anything. Same with girls soccer, was just getting going. I have to look. I mean, maybe they were good, but I don't have a recollection of it being as successful as it's become. I mean, yeah, Memorial Soccer sense is
Yeah.
very, very good.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So, project manager Brian with the text baseball, consecutive games played streak, consecutive hit streak. Well, not really looking at streaks, kind of looking at like clubs where you can have multiple members of that club, right? Over there. So, that's kind of where we're looking at right now. So, but keep them coming. All right.
Yeah.
Hit me up with some text over there. 715-830-1912. We got some picks and predicts coming up next hour too. How's Luke feeling about his Minnesota Lynx in game 3 with the series tied up? Epic game 1 comeback for them.
It was, yeah. Need more from Collier consistently throughout the game. That would be good. A little bit more from McBride, but they're holding their own. I mean, you saw, again, game 1, enough said. Game 2, they came close. They couldn't hold on. New York had enough depth. They came around. Courtney Williams has been doing a great job for Minnesota. So they lose in 4. That would require losing 2 games on the road, but the Liberty are good enough. I think it could happen. But they got a shot. I mean, they've got home court advantage. But at this point, I would reassess this as a 5-game series. I think New York wins in 5 right now.
All right.
But yeah, this is a good one. Watch it tonight. Absolutely worthy.
Yep.
This is a good battle. I don't think the Liberty jump out to a huge lead again. They did that 2 games in a row. I don't think that happens tonight. In part because it's different venue. In part because I think that's going to be a focus. Cheryl Reeve and the rest of the team's going to really don't let this happen again that way. And I don't think it happens that way.
Yeah. We also have a baseball game tonight. The Dodgers and Mets game 3. The series moves to New York, so you got that going on as well. The Yankees winning last night to take a 2-0 lead over the Guardians. So every team after the Brewers that I've hitched my wagon to is getting their butts kicked right now. So
are you rooting for the Mets just to keep the streak alive, or are you rooting for the Dodgers to break the streak once and for all?
Honestly, I don't give a rip on that series.
Or honest, option 3, whatever.
I first of all, it was the Tigers in the previous series, and then they lose to the Guardians. So now I'm on the Guardians bandwagon, but now they're down 0-2. So I don't know. Just, I guess the moral of the story is, don't let me be your bandwagon fan because it's no good. Doesn't work out that way.
Okay.
So, but it's shaping. I think it's going to be Dodgers Yankees.
I don't know. I have a
Although
funny.
Otani's struggling a little bit in October
We were
here.
talking about, like, should he be moved down in the order? There's a little bit of discussion about that.
Yeah.
Um,
What would be better? Is it? Well, I think it's easier, but Dodgers and Yankees would draw a lot of attention. But a Subway Series again?
See, I remember thinking in 2000 that was going to, when it happened,
Mm-hmm.
that was going to be the biggest deal ever. And it was not. I mean, in part because it was not, it was a pretty quick series. It was a 5-gamer, and it was most known for the Roger Clemens bat throw that was
From
not
Mike Piazza.
aimed at
Yeah.
Mike Piazza. Totally coincidental. But yeah, that was a blah series. I don't recall the ratings being that. I could be wrong. You could look that up, and maybe the ratings were good.
But wasn't the Yankees just so dominant?
They were, but they were performing poorly going into that playoffs. They kind of sort of barely got in. They were like one of the best examples of a team that was not performing well up until the playoffs, and then went on a run.
Mm-hmm.
But that was also their third title in a row, fourth out of 5 seasons. So maybe there was a little bit of Yankees again. But yeah, I remember thinking that this was going to be a bigger sports deal, and it wasn't. And before we do the whole, there's a sign of baseball's falling, not quite yet, because the year after that, maybe that was more of a September 11th thing, but it was a pretty big deal in 01. It was a pretty big deal in 04. After that is when the tail off really started to happen. But you would think a New York versus New York Subway Series, because that was heard a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And
Eat fresh.
Yeah. Anyone listening, if you have a different recollection, let me know. But my thought was, as it was happening, was this is not what I thought it was going to be in terms of hype. And hopefully, if it is Mets Yankees, it'll be a 7-gamer, and maybe that would be different. Maybe because it was seen as somewhat of a mismatch. I mean, the Mets were in their second straight LCS. Like they were pretty good at that time too. Yankees Dodgers would be the big one. That's the one where you wonder, would the hype match the actual outcome?
Mm-hmm.
And especially if Ohtani struggles. I know Judge is getting hotter lately. Finally got a home run. But if they don't, because it will be Judge versus Ohtani.
Right.
And if they don't perform that well, and it's like a 5-game series, but that's the one that obviously, once again, what Fox wants to happen, what baseball can't say what they want to have happen, because again, you have 30 teams. You're going to have to accept whatever outcomes you get.
Mm-hmm.
But Fox would rather have that for sure.
Yeah.
But we'll see. If I had to predict right now, I still think the Mets pull off the LCS. The Yankees are going to win.
Mm-hmm.
Theirs. And I think
LCS,
And right now, I think the Yankees are going to win the World Series either way.
Cool. Awesome. Great.
It's been a long day. Hey, look, the 15-year drought. Come on.
Yeah.
This is a wrong that needs to be corrected.
Of course. NBA season, Bucks season tips off a week from today, in case anybody didn't know. NBA season's right around the corner too.
It's kind of sneaking up. I mean, I know it's getting the preseason stuff, but I'm still like, wait, what's the first day?
Mm-hmm. And they go up against the 76ers, and they may not have to go up against Joel Embiid or Paul George. They may go up against Embiid. Did you hear this, though? He may not play at all this season, a back-to-back. Joel Embiid.
Wow.
Think about that.
Load management.
I mean, I know that was kind of like Middleton last year, but we're talking about Joel Embiid not playing a back-to-back. That, to me, is like, wow.
Well, again, if the objective is to win the championship, and if that's what gets you there.
So, okay, let's say he plays 41 games. No, that's not right. That's just divided in half. Okay, so maybe 60-some games, and he's getting paid. I don't know. That's, wow. I don't know. That's weird. I never thought we'd get to that day, but here we are. Can't play back-to-back. Let's play 2.
And maybe it's unique to his body. I mean, if this becomes the standard that any player is not going to do back-to-backs, well, for one, you better believe Adam Silver is going to intervene on that. That's what what a lot of this other, like the schedule changes in the past year or so, was intended to avoid load management.
Yep.
If the Embiid thing becomes, if it's just him, honestly, really fine. because it might be his body and that's what he can take. And the whole point is for the Sixers to win a championship. Again, a reminder, 76ers have been in one conference finals since 1985. That was the 2001 one. One conference finals. There's another one. It's like what I was saying with the Ravens and conference championships. It feels like they've been there more frequently. We've been talking about them so much. Now, they can't get past the second round.
Really, really quick before we have to take a break here, trivia question for you. Since 2020, who has played more games between these three? Joel Embiid, Paul George, Chris Middleton.
Ouch. Chris Middleton.
Close. Joel Embiid's got 224. Chris Middleton has 222. Paul George, 215.
Wow. It's not a lot, but these are also.
But I think that also puts in perspective, like if everybody thinks Middleton's missed a lot of time, put it in that perspective with Embiid and Paul George.
Yeah. But I mean, we're talking like the all-star, all-injured team of the 2020s, too. Of really good players that have stuff keep coming up.
And maybe Lonzo Ball will be a part of that one group, too. Who knows? You know?
Hey, he's coming back.
Yeah, we'll see.
For now.
Yeah. We'll see how long that lasts. So,
yeah.
All right, quick break. And we got a quick shout out for one of our local youth sports teams coming up here. And then business sports, which I'm excited about to get to here. We get a chance to rip on Tom Brady, kind of a little bit, not really, but it's a weird situation over there.
Any chance we get.
Yep. And a uniform thing for you.
Yay!
youth teams or sports teams, listen up if or youth leagues, I should say. If you're looking for some new uniforms, some new jerseys, time to update that swag of yours. Look no further than our good friends at Resonance Branding Company. Resonance Branding Company in Altoona. You can check them out at their website, resonancebbrandingcompany.com. They can hook your teams up or leagues up with some new, updated, sweet-looking uniforms because if you look good, you play good over there. Plus, they can set you up with an online store if you want to maybe sell some of your merchandise to help raise some funds, or if the fans want to represent your team there too, you can purchase merchandise over there. So check them out online, resonancebbrandingcompany.com. Speaking of youth teams, one thing we'd like to start doing on the program is to shout out some of our youth players, youth teams, coaches, officials out there, because we spend a lot of time talking about pros and colleges and such, but what about the youth teams over there? They play it for the love of the game, and a lot of those coaches and officials over there too, volunteering their time, so these youngsters can go out there and play the sports that they love. So we want to highlight some of those players and such. And so if you have a player, a team that you'd like to get a shout out from, or you would like for us to give a shout out to, just go to sportstalk1051.com, click on that the fan cave tab, and you'll have the email address over there where you can send it to us. So for our first one here, we're going to do the second grade flag football team, the Yellow Jackets, which happens to be, Luke, the team I helped coach out. So because that's the team I helped coach. So that's who's going to be the first one. Just to give an example of what we can do for these kiddos and give them a little bit of a proper shout out over there. Our last game is going to be this Monday, playing under the big lights of Carson Park, Monday Night Football, Carson Park over there. So kids have been doing an awesome job, fantastic job. And the cool thing is that, yes, there's some kids from the same schools, but it's a couple different schools. So, initially getting together, maybe a little shy, a little nervous. Now they're all kind of playing as one team. So it's been really cool to see those kids work together and develop those friendships and such. So they've been doing a fantastic job. Let's give them a little bit of a shout out. You ready for this, Lucas, over there? So this is the second grade Yellow Jackets flag football team.
My name is Ben. My favorite team is the Brewers. My favorite sport is football, and my favorite hobby is collecting cards, and my favorite food is fish tacos.
My name is Tyler.
My favorite sport or hobby is
Football.
My favorite team is
Green Bay Packers.
My favorite food is
Culver's chicken strips.
My name is Dante. My favorite sport or hobby is football. My favorite team is the Brewers. My favorite food is burgers. My name is Cameron. My favorite sport is football. My favorite team is the Broncos. My favorite snack is a Dot Plexels.
My name is Mason. My favorite sports team is Milwaukee Bucks. My favorite sports hobby is basketball and golf. My favorite food is rice and egg rolls.
My name is Liam. My favorite sports team is the Chiefs. My favorite hobby is baseball. And my favorite food is pizza.
My name is Luke. My favorite sports team are Milwaukee Bucks and Brewers. And my favorite sport is baseball. My favorite food is chicken wings.
My name is Hudson. My favorite team is the Packers. My favorite hobby is collecting sports cards. And my favorite food is chicken nuggets.
My name is Finn, and my favorite sports teams are the Brewers and the Packers. My favorite sport is baseball and football, and my favorite food is pizza.
My name is Dexter. My favorite sports team is the Packers. My favorite sport is football and soccer. My favorite food is pizza.
My name is Brayden. My favorite football team is the Ravens. My favorite sport, football. My favorite food, pizza.
My name is Quinn. My favorite football team is the Vikings. My favorite sport is football. My favorite food is pizza. Thank you, go Vikings. I love my team. I'm so thankful of how good they're playing. They're trying to make the coaches proud, but they haven't been realizing they've been making me proud this whole time.
There you go. There's the second grade Yellow Jackets flag football team right there.
Wow.
So good stuff right there. Proud of those boys for since August, and we wrap up our season on Monday. So, kind of cool to see the different favorite teams. We got a Broncos and a Chiefs fan. Luckily, they haven't been trash talking too much back and forth over there. So,
Yeah, I suppose that could get a little dicey.
yeah, but good kids over there. So, anybody who wants to feature their team or some officials and such, or coaches, again, just head to our website, sportstalk1051.com, and click on that Fan Cave tab.
I love the NFL Films music too.
You like that? Yeah.
Which is now to the point now I think of Lambeau Field. And I've heard that music in NFL films, but you hear them play that at Lambeau enough times.
Yep.
It's eked its way into my brain. So that sounded really cool. I like the effect.
Nice. Hey, speaking of when was your first, do you remember going to your first football game, Packer game, whether it was Vikings or Packers?
Yes, Camp Randall Stadium, preseason 1988 Packers versus the Jets, wearing their current New York Sack Exchange uniforms.
Did you go with your dad?
I did.
Nice.
That's
awesome.
That was my first artificial turf experience. Because you could walk down the way Camp Randall was. You walk down because we were on the east side of the stadium, and then you walked down to the field, and then walked out of the southeast corner when it was open at that point, and the turf went out in the walkway. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what artificial turf is. I get to, it's green blacktop.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh. that was interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my first preseason game. My first regular season game was Packers Vikings, the last game of the 91 season at the Metrodome.
What was your first Lambeau game?
That was 1998. That was the last Reggie White game, the last Mike Holmgren game against the Tennessee Oilers.
Wow.
Yep, that's the one. Then I got down to the field at the end when Reggie White was running around because we had press passes. That was the thing because my dad worked at EAU, so we had press passes. And so he's like, oh, Luke, take that. So we were at the 50-yard line because it was like holiday vacation seats or something like that. I think we were right by like players' families or something. So we watched the game and then go down. And then I got to go down to the field and I'm holding this disposable camera right next to like all the media. But I was running around and there's Reggie White way on the other side. And we're all, yep. That was a blast.
That's cool.
Oh, it was. So yes, it was.
That's a nice little humble brag there too.
I know, like you don't know that going in, like it was with the snow falling and everything, like you don't realize how cool it's going to be until sometimes you luck out that way.
Yeah. That's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
remind me again, what was your, I can't believe I forgot this. What was your first Lambeau game?
So my first Lambeau game,
You've said this before and I forgot.
Yeah. So my first one, I wasn't until I was in college when I got to go to my first one, but it was a preseason 05 against the Patriots. So, it was I could see at least Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. And that was my first game. But then later that year, my first regular season game was that Seahawks Packers last game of Brett Favre.
Yeah, that one.
That I feel like every time I bring it up, it's turning into the Ice Bowl now, where everybody was at that game.
I was at that game, but I
see.
Actually was,
I mean,
but I actually was at that game because I can picture watching Favre running out of the tunnel while I was in the north end zone, going, "Is this it? Bye. There he goes."
And then they were chanting 4 more years. That was kind of also like a little Brewers-esque because Seahawks were the game, and I know they rested I think Sean Alexander broke the touchdown record, single season rushing touchdown record. Then they sat the starters.
Yeah.
Seahawks go to the Super Bowl. Next year, it's Packers Bears. Everybody's like, oh, it's the end of Brett. Donald Driver's carrying him off the field. Packers win. But the Bears go to the Super Bowl. So it was like kind of that thing. It was like, oh. And then what happened the year after that? NFC Championship. Giants beat the Packers and go to the Super Bowl. So it was like 3 straight year.
It was the Brewers thing.
Yeah, it was kind of the Brewers thing there a little bit.
Wow.
So luckily in 08, it didn't matter because 0-16 Lions. So
not going to the Super Bowl.
Not going to the Super Bowl.
Pretty clearly.
Yep, exactly. All right, 2 hours in. We've got one more to go. Stick around. We'll be back in just a little bit with a little business of sports. Final hour on this Wednesday morning coming at ya. Big thanks for tuning in, wherever, however. We'll get back to some more football talk coming up here. Packers got a new kicker, Brandon McManus. We talked a little bit about that in the first hour. So we'll hit that up. We'll get back to more football talk with that. Throw some baseball talk in here too with the playoffs continuing. Picks and predicts at the back end of this hour as well. So plenty to get to here in this final hour. Let's jump right into it with some business of sports because we got some business to be talking about. First, actually, before we get to a little business of sports, I teased you with the uniform thing.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see what Illinois is wearing this weekend? The Illini?
Let's see. Is this the Butkus one?
They're 1920s.
Oh, that's that one.
The throwbacks to commemorate Red Grange's incredible game against Michigan in 1924.
I knew something like that was coming. I've not yet seen it. All right.
I will text you the picture right now. I have it. I have it right here, man.
All right.
So it's see, I appreciate the history. I want your opinion on what the helmet looks like because this is something. So I just texted it to you.
Because they've had the Butkus helmet earlier with like the stars along it. Let's see. Ooh. Okay, yes.
I mean, it is a leather helmet, but they show you it's like a design of the leather helmet with the lines and all. It's not like the Packers where they had that just straight brown helmet.
Right. When I think technology is advanced where it looks that way. I was just looking through UniWatch like literally minutes ago where one of the most recent posts because they're talking about the winter warning this Sunday.
Hey, I'll be at that one.
Okay, are you wearing shorts?
That's the thing, right? Yeah, it's supposed to be like 70 or something.
It's good. Okay, warning. Side note. This is what I was afraid was going to happen, and it is happening.
Yeah.
Sunny and 73. It's going to be 16 degrees above normal if the forecast holds for the winter warning game.
Why didn't they do it in November?
You idiots. Yeah, seriously.
Especially Thanksgiving night would have been perfect, or even San Francisco.
Say what you will about the aesthetics of it. That's a whole nother debate. Fine. If you're going to do a winter anything game, don't do it when it feels like summer.
And you're going to have dudes. Everybody's going to be wearing short sleeves. I mean, come on.
Like, what were they? Was there a rule? Could they not do it against something? Like,
I don't know. Maybe they didn't want them wearing white when it's snowing because it's a competitive disadvantage. I don't know.
I mean, I guess warning because it's coming. Well, yeah, cool, it's coming. And let's grill out because it's nice and hot today. I mean, maybe there'll be a dew point.
Yeah.
Stupid. Anyway, but that UniWatch post went through the history of like throwbacks and alternates the Packers, which the Packers really don't have alternates outside of the white pants. And they showed the ones from 2010 and 2011 when they had the brown helmets, which were just plain brown helmets. And so seeing what Illinois is doing this weekend, and I've seen some other teams try to do like paint the helmets that way. I'll be really curious to see what it looks like on the field. A photo is okay. That's cool to make it look that way. How is it going to actually look in action?
Mm-hmm.
We've seen that happen so many times with uniforms. They look great on a computer screen.
Right.
And then in reality, they look terrible. Vikings of late aughts, the Favre era. Yeah, perfect example of that. I think this might work, though. I mean, at first blush, and anyone else can Google it, because obviously Casper's not going to text it right to you, the listener, right now. But Google it. See what Illinois is wearing this weekend. It's a really well-done version of a leather helmet painted onto a modern NFL helmet.
I might be in a minority, or we may be. I like that helmet.
I do too. And
I feel like traditionalists won't, or I don't know if traditionalists. I feel like a lot of people are going to say no. It's like, I like it.
Hey, they need to have a white helmet and a white jersey and go all icy.
I like it.
I like it too. And well, and again, consider what they're doing this year. The history of the Illini program. Again, why they had the Butkus helmets and they had the New York Giants era Illini helmets. All that they're doing the history of the program. This is a pretty significant part of Illinois football. Red Grange,
right?
That's the fabric of the game. Period. So I do like what they're doing this weekend. I almost want to say I saw a preview of that, but seeing this right now, seeing that photo you just sent, good job, Illinois. Again, let's see what it looks like on the field, but it's setting up to be a really good one. And like I said, if the Packers want to do a different throwback to Like someone in that Unitwatch article said they should do a 36 throwback, which was like green body, yellow sleeves, tan pants. We
yeah.
haven't seen that combination.
No, we haven't.
But that was a championship look. It's different. And the helmets were not leather. They were leather, but they were painted. They were like yellow or green. But you could do something like that, or if you wanted to go all Acme Packers, you could do that. That'll be cool to watch this weekend.
Yep.
They're playing
Michigan
at 2:30, so you get a little bit of light and a little bit of mostly sunlight. Yeah, it'll be all sun. I don't know if it's going to be cloudy there that day, but it's a good watch.
All right, let's do a little business of sports because we got some stuff we got to catch up on. We had some NFL owners meetings yesterday, and a couple of the big nuggets out there. We've touched on this before in the past, but now it's going to happen. The Stadium of the Future for Jacksonville on
Future.
So the Jaguars getting a new stadium,
which is basically what the current stadium, but it's going to be really decked out to be very modern and future.
Yeah, the Jaguars agreed to take on all construction cost overruns, assume day-to-day operations of the stadium, and bear an 80.4% of game day expenses moving forward. The proposed 63,000-seat open-air stadium, this is the unique thing, includes a translucent covering. That's the equivalent of, quote, wearing shades in the sun. It's expected to lower outside temperatures by 15 degrees. Capacity could expand to 71,000. This is what's funny. Could expand to 71,500 to accommodate a college game, Florida versus Georgia, a college football playoff game, or a Final Four. Pools and party deck will remain in the north end zone.
Well, that's good. It is kind of a big deal there, that party deck.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so we're gonna get the.
I'm really curious to see how this translucent covering is going to work.
Okay, there's a couple things in this. For one, the renderings rarely match reality. How many times have we seen, like, look at this perfectly translucent roof, and then you actually see it, it's like mostly opaque. Like, wait, what? What do we do? Second, looking at one of the most recent ones, it looks kind of like, I don't know. It looks like a combination of what you see in SoFi and Allegiant Stadium / what we're going to see in Tennessee. I don't know who's designing this. Is this Manica again? They're the ones that did Vegas, and they're doing Tennessee right now. Wonder if they're the ones. Either way, though, if it works out like if it's EFTE, which is what they've got at US Bank Stadium, that's the material. Okay, that would work because that turns out to be pretty legit translucent. I hope it's not what you get in Vegas, but then again, Vegas kind of needs to be more opaque because if you have the sun coming in, oh boy. I think it'll be pretty good and it's going to match ultimately a fair amount of the renderings. So at least there's somewhat of a reason to watch Jaguars football.
Well, and they ain't moving to London, so you can tamper down that. I think there was an interesting note there too. There is a max of how many games they can have outside of Jacksonville. So it's not like going to be half and half.
I was going to want, is this going to be for 5 games a year?
Right. Yeah. So they've got that provision in the agreement too, that they can't just play half their games elsewhere.
Okay.
So, get a new stadium, play as many games in there as you can, for crying out loud. So.
Okay. Well, good. I guess good for them.
The other thing in this thing is that Tom Brady has been finally, after it seems like it's been talked about for how many years now at this point, but Tom Brady approved as a minority owner with the Las Vegas Raiders. So he's got 5% of the of the share. Share is not the right word, but you know what I mean. 5% of the team over there. So unanimously approved, which was kind of interesting because there was all this talk like the owners didn't want him in there because of his broadcasting gig, which we're going to get to here in a second. But he gets a minority stake in the franchise that was approved. It's reported time. Okay, so he would be buying a 10% stake in the franchise, but I think it's 5% now.
Yeah, it was bumped down.
Yeah, so maybe eventually could get up to 10 is what. I don't know. We'll have to maybe double check because I've seen 5 and 10.
Yeah, it was
on this.
initially going to be 10, and now it's down to 5.
Now it's down to 5? Okay.
Something like that. I know Andrew Brandt was really going into this, and then like the potential like value discount potentially involved with this.
Yes. It says here the NFL owners Tuesday approved a sale of 10% of the Raiders to an ownership group that includes the 7-time Super Bowl champ. Brady personally holds 5%. So
that's it.
Yeah, so it's 10% of this ownership group, but Brady himself has 5% of it.
So he doesn't have to end up paying as much money, so he's in the club.
So
Richard Seymour also.
Yeah, Richard Seymour's a part of that group. So also acquired a small stake in the ownership. So
less than 1%.
So that's where it is. The biggest thing now is he got some rules that he's got to follow being a broadcaster in this thing. Ready? I don't know if you saw this list, but if anybody hasn't, here's some of the list. Some of his restrictions now as being a partial owner and now still broadcasting games. Not permitted to be in another team's facility. Not permitted to witness practice. Not permitted to attend broadcast production meetings, either in person or virtually. Prohibited from publicly criticizing game officials and other clubs. Subject to the NFL's gambling policy. Subject to the NFL's anti-tampering policy. Those are kind of crucial things to prepare to call a game, right? I mean,
it's a lot.
You can't attend the broadcast meeting, so is he literally showing up day of and just walking in the booth and saying, "All right, let's do this"? He can't talk to, how you always hear like these guys say, "Yeah, in our meetings, the other day with Coach LaFleur." He can't do that. He can't talk to any of the players. So, I mean, I know he's Tom freaking Brady and people are still going to listen to him, but that's for crying out loud. He can't hardly do any of that stuff.
He's going to have to be really good. Now, granted, he still has people he can talk to. He can.
I'm assuming he could talk to an owner, right?
Yeah, that definitely he can do. And depending on who some of them are, like for example, there's a USA Today column I'm reading right now on this. Like Jerry Jones, you could reach out to him because there are a whole lot of Cowboys games. So there are ways to do that. You could also talk to your cohorts, like Kevin Burkhardt and Aaron Andrews can relay information that's not like secret stuff.
Well, and it's going to be one of those. Okay, it's an obvious let's say Monday nights, that awful officiating game.
Mm-hmm.
Brady can't say a lick about it. So it's all going to have to be his play-by-play guy pretty much saying all that stuff, right?
Is Kevin Burkhardt going to be doing
Is Kevin Burkhardt going to say, "Oh, that's an awful call," Tom, and then Tom's just sitting there in silence? How?
Well, the refs have a tough job, and
it's just I'm waiting for that situation where it's an awful call. Let's throw this out there. What if it's like a Fail Mary type of situation game that he's calling?
Yeah,
and he's got to sit there in silence.
Would not be
he
ideal.
Can't say anything about it.
Yeah, I don't know how you get around that sort of stuff unless. Here's the thing, though: the league could have a bit of a waiver because the value of Tom Brady as a broadcaster outweighs a lot of these rules.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that it would apply to anyone else. This is a rare example where I literally don't know who that other person would be. Who's the next? I mean, Patrick Mahomes would probably be the one other example. I'm thinking of a player right now who is on a track to maybe be Brady-esque, and Mahomes might be on that track in a different way, but in terms of overall stature. You'd bend the rules for Mahomes. You would bend the rules for Brady. I don't think you'd bend the rules for anybody else.
Well, look, it's if anybody who's watched Manning Cast and you see how Peyton gets so upset and Peyton Manning all of a sudden has an ownership. You can't do Manning Cast.
Yeah.
Look at how he's done games and with him and his brother, kind of criticizing decisions and he wouldn't be able to do that if Peyton ever had an interest in ownership.
I feel like they got to find some way because otherwise you don't want too much bad PR. As much as we've talked about, well, Goodell doesn't really think there's too much bad PR because it's still PR, gets attention to the league. Well, you don't want a laughingstock situation either. Brady, I think, has been getting better. I've not seen a game since the very beginning of game one, which I knew was going to be rocky.
You didn't watch 5 Cowboy games?
No, I had other things to do with my life, my life. Just where I was as boring as it may be. That's better than watching Dak again. Oh my gosh, this is insufferable. All the Cowboys talk.
Maybe that was just all, they purposely put him on Cowboy games because people are going to watch it regardless of how good he is or not. So
yeah, probably. Yeah. That's the thing. There's a lot of attention there. This week, no, he's got Niners and Niners
Chiefs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. I was listening to the Press Box pod. Diehard Cowboys fan Brian Curtis, the host from The Ringer, said actually, like this past week, as he was stomaching the bad Cowboys game, like Brady's actually gotten good. He's definitely improved from week 1, which
he's no Jason Witt.
Definitely not. But a lot of it, it's not the ideal of what you would want of like in my position. I would that's what you really, really want. But it's in his view, and his thing is kind of a sports media critic. Tom Brady has gotten better. At some point, I intentionally wanted to wait a while to see another Brady game. It's not fair to judge him on week 1.
Right.
Have
you seen the commercial of his where it's like the different versions of Brady and all? I'm like, okay, that's a little over the top.
How many other play-by-play guy or color guys are going to get to do that? No one does that because it's Tom Brady, right? He's that big. But again, that's why they bumped down Greg Olsen, because he's Tom Brady, because he's going to get the talk. We're talking about it right now.
So my question is, because Brady has this segment now, like he's got a couple different things. One of them is the LFG player of the game. You know what it means. I can't say it. But okay, he can't. He's part of the tampering thing. What if it's like the final game of the season and it's an impending free agent? Brady gives him this award and sings his praises. Could a team say, dude's tampering?
Potential future Las Vegas Raider?
I'm just thinking of those scenarios.
Who's a good free agent that potentially could be an asset to the Raiders next year?
Oh, I'd have to look that up.
What if it's like, I was going to say Tyreek Hill or something like that, but that would require the Raiders to have
But what if it was like an impending free quarterback?
Yeah. This is a problem.
And he's got another thing too. I saw the other day where it's like 3 stars, where he highlights like 3 players. I'm like, couldn't a team almost say make an argument? Like, I don't know if they'd win that argument, but couldn't they almost say, okay, dude's tampering because he's talking about my player?
But this is where I think no one's really going to ultimately do that, because letter of the law, you probably could get something on that. Spirit of the law, I don't know. But more importantly to the NFL, you really want bad pub for Tom Brady if he's otherwise doing a really good job? Nope.
Unless it's a division rival, I could see them throwing a stink. I don't think they'd win it. But like, okay, so what if it was like the Chiefs somehow got a really good player, or the Raiders got a really good player from the Chiefs or Broncos or something like that? Because usually when we see these tampering things, it's usually a division rival, right?
Yeah.
Where they throw a stink. Again, I don't think it'll happen. Like, I don't think the NFL would rule in their favor, but I wouldn't be surprised if a team like tries to file a tampering claim. Like Green Bay did it with Favre when Minnesota, was talking to him and such, but it didn't go through.
Like Isaiah Pacheco right now becomes a free agent after next year. So what if next year he keeps highlighting Pacheco?
Yeah.
And he'll probably be doing a fair number of Chiefs games, not as many as CBS, but we know how that's been blown up more. So there's a greater likelihood than in almost any other season.
Yeah.
And Pacheco's okay. Now, if Pacheco has a great year next year and he's like rushing for 1,000 yards, I mean, okay, fine. But that could potentially come up. I still think, I keep coming back to this, I think the NFL allows him to have a certain amount of leeway. Like, he's not going to be able to go Troy Aikman and just be like, all right, this sucks, here's why. And he's basically impenetrable, which, side note, notice how Troy Aikman can pretty much get away with ripping a whole lot of the game.
Not only Aikman, but Buck. I'm glad you brought it. I forgot this. I don't know how much of the game you watched on Monday.
Did not.
It was Buffalo's kicker, just like it was a bad.
Yeah, that was. I saw that.
Did you hear what like Buck said?
No. Okay. What was?
He's like, oh my God, he wasn't even close. there's guys that are better kickers at College Game Day. Like Buck was
Wow.
just like he's like, that was awful. That was better kickers and he's referring to what Pat McAfee does at College Game Day.
Right.
Like just no filter, just off on it.
But what are you gonna do something against Buck and Aikman?
Well, I know.
No.
I appreciate it. I was just like surprised, like, oh wow, they like were just like very, how Buck gets nonchalant about it too. He's just like, it was like, that wasn't even close. God, that was awful.
But here's the thing, though. Like, the NBA's different. Supposedly, there's no proof of this. There's a lot of insinuation. The NBA didn't like the criticism
That
of
Van
Jeff
Gundy,
Van
though, yeah.
So Van Gundy, arguably the best analyst, out.
Yeah.
Because the NBA didn't want that. You could make a case Troy Aikman's the best right now. You can make a case for a few days. Greg Olson's the consensus.
Yep.
But if you said Troy Aikman was number one right now, I know you could back it up, and I would believe it. The NFL doesn't seem to have any problem with him being like, this football is pretty bad right now. He can assess it that way, but the NFL's okay with it. And I think the NFL understands in that case, like, again, there's that fine line of what's actual bad PR and what's, okay, call it out as bad, but that's actually okay.
Well, heck, Al Michaels does it on Thursday nights too.
Right. But
he calls it out all the time.
But but the NFL gets it. Like, if the guy's good enough, people are going to follow along with that, and there's going to be more of a backlash going the other way, which is where I think they don't want to be like, Tom Brady is a total stooge, not saying a thing. He has to be able to acknowledge something that's obviously right there. Nothing will get people more outraged than a thing you see that is not acknowledged either by the refs, because they blatantly miss a call, happened again this past weekend, or an announcer that's like, oh, well, looks like kind of a tough thing there, where very clearly something is going on. That will get called out all the time. People will not accept that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the NFL will be like, okay, Brady, here's some things you can say to kind of make your point without really making the point, like, well, kind of plausible deniability. I think that's where he goes with this. Because if we have a fail Mary and he's like, oh yeah, that's kind of a tough play, that's going to wreck the reputation.
Yeah, the credibility goes down big time.
Right. And I don't think they're going to let that happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Maybe I'm being optimistic on this, but I think they find a way to make that happen.
Mm-hmm. Be interesting to follow, though.
Oh,
for sure.
gosh, yeah. Well, we haven't seen anything like this before.
No.
And I don't know that we're going to see anything like this again.
No.
But can he have his cake and eat it too? That's the thing. He's trying to do a whole lot of things. Usually that doesn't work out.
That he might now have the world's easiest job where he's getting like $30 million a year. I don't have to go to production meetings. I don't have to do any interviews beforehand. I literally just show up and talk about a football game for 3 hours and I'm out. $30 million about a year for that.
Well, and the thing is, he can do a whole lot of prep outside of that without doing the meetings.
But he doesn't have. That's the thing. He could do it at his home.
Right.
He can sit on the beach and do it. He doesn't have to go travel like a couple days ahead of time to Green Bay, Wisconsin in December. He could be sitting in Florida.
Right.
He doesn't have to do this stuff. And still get paid the same.
Well, as long as he does a good job, that's the most important thing, I guess.
Easiest gig in the world right now he's got. It is.
We all should aspire to be Tom Brady.
We all should absolutely aspire to be Tom.
Well, think about it. Would you like Tom Brady's life? I think most of us would. Let's be real.
Yeah,
we would.
Yeah.
Come on.
Good looks, money,
Super Bowl titles,
Super Bowls, legacy.
Yeah, all of that.
Hall of Fame.
Yeah, we all would. Let's be real.
Yeah.
We all would.
Yeah. Yep. I know there's a lot of attention to it too, but yeah.
If you're built that way, like Tom, that's the thing. You also have to have the mindset, but he's got the mindset to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I agree. So, all right, quick break. We'll be back. That's your business of sports, though. We'll be back in just a few minutes. With these colder temperatures this morning, it may kind of give you some reminders that winter will be approaching. Not this weekend, Green Bay. Winter's not coming this weekend, but eventually it will come, and that may be a good reminder to get your vehicles ready, getting some new tires to do some battle on some snow-covered roads here in Wisconsin, and maybe get your oil change there too. ASAP Used Auto Parts can help you out with all that while also saving you some money on some high-quality used auto parts. So check them out on Menominee Street, just across the street from the Dodge. That's ASAP Used Auto Parts. I was thinking about this while I was brewing my third cup of coffee this morning. Talking. Yeah, I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. Lost last night kind of was bugging me for our football team, but typical coach speak. It's my fault. It's all on me. So, anyways,
you're going to be sleeping in a cot at the. Is there an office for your?
The man cave. The man cave.
So you actually could sleep at home and sleep in a cot in your office.
Yep. But I was thinking about this, when we were talking about Brady and, would teams, tampering or criticizing that.
Mm-hmm.
Not the greatest example. I understand it because it's Tom Brady versus average Joes. But if the NFL really wanted to follow the letter of the law and really want to, buckle down on this, just go on X/Twitter after every Packers game. Look at every Packers fan who criticizes officiating and cross-reference if they are a shareholder, because technically they could be fined too.
Ooh, yes.
Like, I could be fined every week. Oh,
you could.
I'm just, that's the letter. If you have a shareholder, you technically could be fined if you criticize officials.
That's a lot of people who could be fined.
Mm-hmm. I haven't heard of one Packers shareholder who has been fined.
That has ever happened.
But never say never, I guess, at this point. Yeah. But if they really wanted to, they could make a whole lot of bank and find money.
Yeah, they could. So that's where they know where their real money is coming.
Mm-hmm. We're not going to find Tom Brady. We're going to find you.
Yeah.
Guy who works 12 hours a day, 5 days a week. And you own a piece of paper that costs you $250.
That really doesn't have to give you a say in anything whatsoever.
You get to vote on the board of directors, but who's going to vote no on Leroy Butler going on the board of directors or something like that?
I don't know. I mean, someone might.
Someone might, but yeah.
Not me, but if I had a share, and I don't.
Mm-hmm. But I was saying, I'm like, oh, yeah, they, not the greatest. It's Tom Brady, but, technically they could if they wanted to, but
technically
they don't.
speaking, yes, they could.
So, can you imagine the bad PR off of that?
Oh, that would be horrendous.
Mm-hmm.
No, they would never, ever do that.
No.
But that goes back to what I was saying. I also don't think anything's going to come of this for Brady either.
Mm-mm.
They'll find a way around it because there's more value in having Brady call the games than in, he has to decide.
Right.
Well, that's a bigger problem.
Yeah. Speaking of football, the Packers have their new kicker, and I'll be honest with you, because on Wednesdays we do like the adjustments, what will you change, what will you adjust, and it's our midweek adjustments. And I was going to come into this Wednesday talking about the kicking game, but the Packers already did that for me, so that was my midweek adjustment.
There you go.
Found that out right before we left for the game last night. So Brandon McManus going to be your new Packers kicker by all accounts. Nothing officially official yet from Green Bay, but probably be today as they get back to practice. McManus, majority of his career in Denver, winning a Super Bowl with the Broncos. Last year was with Jacksonville. Had signed a contract with Washington of March this year. Released in June after allegations of sexual assault. Just a couple weeks ago, the NFL cleared him after doing their investigating. And then it broke that yesterday the Packers had him in as a tryout, and then they signed him. And it was a couple weeks ago when it was revealed that you had a lot of Packers fans saying, sign that guy. Well, you got your wish. He's in Green Bay. And he's expected to kick this weekend against the Texans. I know there's optimism and there's some excitement. At least there was on social media. The thing is, we won't know if it's going to work until we get some games in. And at this point, I think you got to stick with him regardless of what happens this year. I mean, what else are you going to do at this point?
Yeah.
Besides trade, and you might have to trade a high pick, but for some fans, that might be worth it. But that team would have to be willing to give up that kicker too.
Right. So. This is that you're riding with McManus, short of an injury, of course, then that gets different. But otherwise, I think he's going to be better. I mean, I saw the tweet from Zach Cruz 7 minutes ago. Field goals under 50 yards. He has a career percentage of 90.8. That's ninth best among kickers who have attempted at least 50 field goals going back a decade and a half. It's pretty good.
And I think too, we were talking a little bit earlier in the week. I mean, Mason Crosby talked about it a lot. Even Aaron Rodgers talked about it a lot. How the wind is different in the bowls of Lambeau. It swirls in there. We may not notice it sitting in the stadium, or especially on our couches watching on TV. Mason's talked about it a lot. Aaron's talked a lot about it. And part of me was wondering, was that an issue for
Narveson?
Narveson, thank you. See, I already forgot his name. Not factoring in the wind or still trying to figure that out and such. And now you got a veteran coming in who played in Denver, which is a little different. You had the elevation where kicks could go a little bit further and such, but a guy who kicked outdoors too. You're bringing in a veteran I think at this point, if you're going to bring in another kicker, it had to be a veteran who's been around for a while, not another guy who's been on for 5 teams in 1 year sort of thing.
Right. If you ever, by the way, if anyone ever wants to see what the wind is like in Lambeau, and ideally you want to go on a day when it's something other than calm winds, but go to a game and watch what happens after they do the fireworks at the beginning and watch the smoke.
Yeah.
That is a wild thing to observe because you see it swirl in all sorts of different directions. I mean, it's not like really fast and it's not like tornado stuff, but it's like, oh, whoa, that's going over there. Well, I wasn't expecting that. That's the giveaway. Like basically it's colored wind at that point. So you see what's going on. If it's a strong enough wind, of course, it's still going to be mostly go in one direction, but even then there'll be a bit of an alteration because it's so deep in the bowl. McManus will be better. So this might be enough to give the Packers a win or two the rest of the season.
And that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yep. Do you play to win the game? Well, this is going to help win the game when, like that Vikings game. And again, if Narveson gets those 2 field goals earlier on in that game, okay, yes, by
math it does, but we don't know how that game plays out in the rest of it, right?
It could be totally different and something else happens and they might still lose. But at least you would be in a better position because those points, which should have been gimmies, well, not necessarily gimmies, but they should have been very likely to be done, are then almost certainly done because someone like McManus would very likely have made those kicks.
Yeah.
Put yourself in a better position to win the game, and Brandon McManus provides that for the Packers. It's that simple.
Yeah. So we'll just wait till Monday if he misses a bad kick, and then we get to talk about it again. So,
gosh, if he misses and the Texans win by like 2.
Oh, God.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
And the thing is like, I think if you asked every Packer, you wanted Braden Narveson to succeed. You wanted him to. It's a cool story. His wife's Wisconsin native. Family's big Pack. It had the makings of a really cool story. You wanted him to succeed. It wasn't working out.
No.
It wasn't working out. And for a team that's got Super Bowl goals and a team that's contending, you couldn't afford to ride this out. Maybe last year, like they did with Anders, you could ride it out and see what happens. This year, you can't. You can't afford that.
Especially when someone else is available who is an upgrade.
Right.
If McManus has been signed by someone else and you get, okay, fine, we'll make it work. But no, you can get the other guy. Let's go ahead and do that. That's what matters most.
Right. So it's I know some people are saying something about, the lawsuit and all that. Well, remember right now it is the NFL did their investigation. They said there was nothing. So he's reinstated and such.
I think it was wasn't he pretty well cleared on this one?
Yeah, I've seen some people saying they're trying again for the lawsuit and that. So I mean, we'll see. But if he's cleared, I guess what else do you do?
Right. At a certain point, yeah. And it could, I guess if something else comes out, it could blow up in their face. But right now, based on what is doable, go with it.
Yeah, it's what it's kind of reminding me of. Okay, so I kind of Googled it here. So the woman filed an amended complaint against McManus on September 6th, and then September 30th, the NFL said he won't face any discipline. So
okay.
I don't know if there's something still kind of going on or such, but it's almost giving me a little flashbacks to Brewers fans wanting Trevor Bauer.
Ooh, yeah. No, of course.
It's obviously different, but
there's a lot more to that. See, like Trevor Bauer was like a complete radioactive, do not touch sort of situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I know some of that got, but that seems worse.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this could become a problem. So I put it this way: hopefully no one runs out and buys a Brandon McManus jersey just yet.
Mm-hmm.
Just to be totally safe. It probably is going to end up being okay, but we'll see what exactly happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, we got to do some picks and predicts. You ready?
Let's.
Okay, we'll take a quick break here. And we'll wrap up things this morning with some picks and predicts after these few words. Tailgate this season with the fine folks at Hy-Vee, whether you're looking for some supplies like the Dan Good Burgers or some Man Cave Lights or some apparel to represent your favorite teams, including some of the local high school teams. Hy-Vee has you covered. Just give a quick visit to our good friends at Hy-Vee in Eau Claire and load up for your tailgating adventures. So I did a quick Google search here from Michael DiRocco from ESPN.
Mm-hmm.
September 3rd, the lawsuit was dismissed. September 6th, they refiled it with their names attached. And then September 30th, the NFL, they said they couldn't find anything and kind of reinstated him. But lawsuit still could be out there because they attached their names to the lawsuit.
Okay.
That's why it was, according to Michael DiRocco from ESPN over here, it was initially said that the ruling gave the two women 10 days to file an amended complaint using a proper name identification. So then they did it within those 10 days. So maybe a little TBD at this point. But I don't know how much the NFL investigation kind of clears it and all that, but we'll see, I guess, at this point. TBD.
Let's hope it all works out.
Mm-hmm. Let's do some picks and predicts brought to you by our good friends from the Elbow Room located in Eau Claire. Wednesday trivia. So if you want to dominate the trivia game, head on over to the Elbow Room while enjoying some cool, cold beverages on this rather cool morning, at least, but it's going to get warmer this weekend. While watching maybe some of these games in action. Let's start off with baseball. Game 3, Dodgers Mets. Series moves back to the New York. Moves back to New York. What do you got?
Okay, now Walker Buehler's way underwhelmed. This feels like either it's going to be Walker Buehler put in a vintage performance, or it's going to be like 9-0 Mets in the first. There's no in between on this.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, this is just baseball weird. I'm going to think it's the former. Dodgers win.
I'm riding the Dodgers too. I think they get the W.
Okay.
So, WNBA tonight, Game 3. Who are you rolling with?
Boy. I'll take the Lynx in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I still think the Liberty pull off the series, I think the Lynx get the win here tonight.
I'm going to go Liberty.
Okay.
I'm going to go with the Liberty getting that W.
All right. So setting up a Friday potential. Well, some team could potentially win it on Friday night. That we know for sure. This will not be a tie tonight.
That is true.
It will be a do or die Game 4.
Yep. So, all right.
And a do or die Game 5 of after that.
We won't do any preseason NBA picks at this point. I don't think anybody wants that.
Hey, how are your Kraken and your hockey club doing?
My hockey club. Gosh.
Big hockey club fan.
Hey, they're 3-1 though, dude.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what's really going to annoy me?
What?
They win the Stanley Cup this year without having the Yeti name. That's
then
really
you kind of have to keep
me.
It, right?
You have to. You have to.
They won't. They'll have a name.
I know they will, but I mean, hockey's all about superstition and all that. So, I mean, for crying out loud, but
throwbacks to that 2025 championship Stanley Cup.
Yeah. Hey, my Kraken, they're 500, but they put up 7 goals last night. So eat it.
Wow. Come from behind win over my Wild. I've actually been a Wild fan for since they've existed.
Yeah, but they beat the Predators last night, 7-3. My former favorite team, the Predators.
Gosh, you're gonna make your way through all the hockey teams at some point.
Well, it was Red Wings when I was a kid. It was kind of the Ducks because of Mighty Ducks.
Hey, they're playing your hockey club tonight.
Oh God, yeah. But hey, I'm still a Kraken fan this year. I should be wearing that hat more often so I can get it used up. So.
Because you're only going to be a fan so long, and then you're bailing.
Got to use it up. So, man, I got to dig it out wherever it's at. I need a better hat storage display system.
Also that.
I got too many, and then they're on this rack, and then, it gets to the bottom or behind, and I forget I have it, and I don't wear it for the longest time. So I need a better hat system.
So when do the Kraken and the hockey club play each other? I just love saying that. It's going to be so sad when I can't call them the hockey.
It's going to be the epic battle next year when it's like these cryptoids of Kraken and Yetis.
Monday, December 30th at Utah.
I am not going.
And then Friday, March 14th in Seattle.
Not going.
And Tuesday, April 8th at Utah.
And March 14th at Utah. Or versus Utah.
Yeah. So you've got
and April 8th.
So yeah, so you've got
you said those. So, yeah.
So you've got a few options if you want to go watch the battle of your two favorite teams.
Hey, when does Utah come to Minnesota though?
Utah is at Minnesota. Let's bring up their schedule here. Whenever it loads, which maybe it won't. Utah, because I got Utah's schedule. That's why it was throwing me off. Utah will be at Minnesota because they host the Wild December 10th. They're at Minnesota Thursday, January 23rd.
God, why can't you do a Friday or Saturday?
Yeah. Games on ESPN
Son
Plus
of
and
a
Hulu.
gun. All right. Well, that ain't going to work for me. So,
Okay.
no, that ain't going to work. Hey.
Wait till they become because what if they're not the Yetis? Then you're not going to be a fan.
Minnesota, it's Friday, December 20th.
Wait, am I seeing that wrong?
Yeah.
Oh no, because I'm looking at the verses in the at.
Yeah.
Never mind.
So they're home Friday, December 20th.
No, they're at Utah is at Minnesota January 23rd.
Yeah.
And that's what I
Friday,
said.
December 20th.
Oh, they do have two. Oh, that's it. They got two road games.
Yeah.
That's weird.
So yeah, Minnesota's home versus Utah Friday, December 20th.
Oh, and then they host the Wild February 27th.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it works. So okay. So
all right.
You're gonna go?
And then
what's your other favorite team?
It's Friday. Before Christmas.
Okay. Friday, December 20th. Tickets as low as $59.
Josh, if you're listening, just saying. My buddy Josh, saying, calling it out. Look at it. Look it up, dude.
Or do you want to wait a year and make sure they actually become the
Yetis? That's a good point.
Because what if they become like the Utah mountain ranges or something? I'm just making up.
Well, I mean, the Kraken don't play a Friday night. They play on a Wednesday, March 19th. So I can't do that one. It'll be one and done. Where I actually did see my Kraken though in person. So just you remember, was that last 2 years ago?
Yeah,
2 years
you
ago.
did.
Didn't have a hat then, so I couldn't represent them properly.
I'm talking about possibly going to a Wild game this year. Finally, I'm trying to do a group thing with some of my Luther friends.
Oh, they play. Yeah, I should have went on Saturday. Not during football season. I can't do that.
Yeah, that would be tough. But yeah, I got to get to a Wild game at some point. So
that's funny that I've been to one before you.
I know. Like I've been to just about every other type of game that I could. Seriously, of all like the big ones, I've been in NFL, MLB, NBA, college football, D1. D1 college men's basketball. I've been to, well, it wasn't an MLS game, but it was a friendly. It was Aston Villa, Minnesota United. So I essentially saw both. Never been to an NHL game. That's got to change. It really has to change.
I enjoyed myself there. It was a lot of fun.
I know. Like
I'm not the biggest hockey fan, but I had a lot of fun there.
And that's the one sport where everyone says it's way better in person.
I would agree with that.
I know. And say what?
I would agree with that.
Yeah,
100%. Yep.
And ironically, that's the one I've never seen in person.
I'm just glad that I got to see some fights. The Kraken did score a lot right away, but then lost. So, but
I just hope it's not like 7-0 the road team and not the Wild. That would suck.
But I got to see some fists going too, so I was just pumped about that.
Fisticuffs.
Like, yes! Right away, too. All right. There's something else I was going to bring up, but I got totally sidetracked about the Yeti.
Are you wearing white on Sunday?
No.
You're going to go along with the Blizzard thing they want?
Here's the thing. I love wearing white. I like getting stuff that's white. I am the messiest eater and drinker, and I stain everything. So I have finally come to the conclusion I can't afford to do that anymore.
So you're going to stand out like a sore thumb.
I'm going to wear my Hudson jersey because Hudson's going to his first regular season game.
Okay. So now you got a legit excuse on that.
Yep. So that's what I'm going to do.
Also, as a way to say that, is that kind of like a subtweet against the Packers? Be like,
No, it's mostly because I don't have a current player jersey, and I don't think I want to get one anytime soon.
Okay.
So I think that's kind of where it's at.
As opposed to ripping them for the winter warning.
Yeah. I mean, I do like white. Like, I like wearing a white, but I am the world's messiest. I stain the crap out of it after the first time I'm wearing something.
So in like the last 20 seconds here, what's your tailgating plan for Sunday?
It's different. I'm not quite sure what we're going to do yet because, well, it's just me and Hudson for this. So we might, and he's been to a couple preseason games and such. So I'm kind of playing it by ear, to be honest with you.
Okay.
So not really. We'll have some snacks and such because got out with a kid. So
Well, right, exactly.
yeah. But
All right, have fun.
yeah, thanks. All right. That's going to do it for us. DP, Dennis, they're up next. Have a fantastic rest of your day. We'll be back at it tomorrow morning, just past 6 a.m.